before she soared across Gotham's skyline, before she faced the darkness on her own terms. She was just a girl with a spark and a name destined for legend. Barbara Gordon was born into shadows, not the shadows of crime or tragedy, but of legacy, for her father was none other than Commissioner James Gordon, Gotham's steadfast protector of law and order. From an early age, Barbara displayed a rare brilliance. She devoured books, mastered computers, and trained in gymnastics with Olympic-level intensity. But more than anything, she watched the city, the people, and the man who fought to protect them. Unlike her father, Barbara saw that justice didn't always come from behind a badge, and it certainly didn't always come quickly enough. She idolized Batman, not just as a symbol, but as a method, a way to fight back, a way to take action. Her moment came unexpectedly. One rainy night, a charity gala was interrupted by a gang of masked criminals. Barbara, only 17, watched helplessly as chaos erupted around her, but something in her refused to freeze. Donning a makeshift costume, black tights, a leather jacket, and a red wig, she leaped into the fray. With agility and quick thinking, she helped stop the attack, just in time for the Batman to arrive. He saw her, not just a copycat, a possibility. At first, Bruce Wayne was against it. He knew the cost of the cape, but Barbara persisted, training in secret, improving her technology skills, honing her combat through books, mentors, and experience. She wasn't trying to be Batman. She was becoming something else. Batgirl. Soon, Gotham would feel her presence. With her yellow symbol gleaming against the night, Batgirl patrolled rooftops with grace and fury. She wasn't as imposing as Batman, but she was faster, more agile, and underestimated. Criminals laughed until they were face down on the pavement. But Batgirl wasn't just muscle. She was a mind, solving puzzles, tracing and decoding riddles faster than even the Dark Knight. In time, Batman accepted her, not as a sidekick, as an ally. Her adventures became legend, thwarting the Mad Hatter's mind control tech, rescuing orphans from Penguin's grip, and outwitting the Riddler in a digital showdown that brought Gotham's grid back online. Through it all, she balanced school, identity, and danger, because beneath the mask, Barbara Gordon never stopped being human. But the shadows in Gotham grow deeper with every victory, and for Batgirl, a storm was coming, one that would test not only her strength, but her soul, because being a hero isn't just about justice, it's about sacrifice, and Barbara Gordon was about to make the greatest one of all, the city that never sleeps, not because of life, but because of fear. Gotham pulses with crime, with whispers of terror that echo through every alley. And within this darkness, Barbara Gordon begins her silent war. After her first night as Bat, the taste of adrenaline was addictive, but so was the weight of the consequences. Bruised, breathless, and electrified by purpose, Barbara returned to her apartment that morning, not as the commissioner's daughter, but as someone reborn. She had no mentor, no gadgets beyond what she built from scavenged tech. Her cape was stitched by hand, her mask fashioned from a repurposed domino design, but what she lacked in resources, she made up for with intelligence and willpower. By day, Barbara was a promising college student, majoring in criminology and computer science. By night, she became a phantom. She stalked muggers, intercepted drug deals, and interrupted armed robberies with calculated strikes. She had no bat signal, no backup, only instinct, and the ever-present voice in her head. You're not doing this for glory. You're doing this because no one else will. But Gotham was a harsh teacher. Her first real battle nearly cost her everything. It happened in the Narrows place. Even the police avoided. A new gang had surfaced, calling themselves the Red Knives. Their leader, Kane Riley, was a war veteran turned sociopath who carved his kills with surgical precision. Barbara attempted to intercept a weapons shipment they were guarding. She was outnumbered 5-1. They beat her, cracked a rib, sliced her arm open, but she didn't run. Even crawling, she managed to trigger an EMP trap she'd planted earlier, disabling their guns and turning the tide. When she stood over Riley, blood dripping down her chin, she realized something. She wasn't afraid anymore. She belonged in this war. Word of her presence began to spread in hushed tones. A new Bat was in the streets. Not him, but someone else. More agile, more relentless. Then, one night, the Bat himself found her. Their first encounter wasn't a welcome. It was a warning. You're going to get yourself killed, Batman growled. emerging from the shadows like a storm cloud. Barbara didn't flinch. "Then I'll die trying to make this city better." He scanned her, reading her with those piercing, inescapable eyes. Finally, he vanished without a word. But from that night forward, something changed. Surveillance drones started guiding her away from danger. Injuries were followed by anonymous first aid kits. Clues she couldn't decode appeared solved in her inbox. She wasn't alone anymore. He was watching Dot, and slowly, without ever asking for it, Barbara Gordon was becoming something more than a vigilante. She was becoming part of the legacy. But with every rise comes a shadow. Dot in the depths of Gotham's underworld. A new predator stirred. A monster not interested in power or profit, but in chaos and pain. A man with a twisted laugh and a thirst for destruction unlike anything Barbara had ever seen. Had proven herself against gangsters and madmen. But this would test not just her skills, but her soul. Because soon Batgirl would come face to face with the madness of the Joker, and the battle for her mind was about to begin. Gotham has always known terror, but this was different. The Joker didn't kill for territory. He didn't want money. He didn't negotiate, didn't make demands. He existed only to tear sanity apart thread by thread until all that remained was screaming chaos. And now, he had found a new target. Barbara had been growing into her role. With time came mastery of movement, of code, of combat. She cracked trafficking rings, infiltrated digital black markets, and even coordinated with Nightwing on a few covert operations. The city was beginning to feel the edge of her influence, subtle, quiet, like a shadow that fought back. But then came the night. Everything changed. It was supposed to be a quiet evening at her father's townhouse. Commissioner Gordon was rarely home, but Barbara cherished those rare nights when he wasn't fighting Gotham's demons. They shared coffee, old books, awkward jokes, the kind of fragile peace only possible when you ignore the war outside. Then the doorbell rang. Dot and Barbara's world was shattered. Dot, the Joker, dressed in a tourist's Hawaiian shirt, smiled as he pulled the trigger. The bullet tore through her spine, paralyzing her instantly. Her scream was drowned by his laughter. What followed was a torment so brutal, so calculated, that Gotham would never speak of it openly. He took pictures, spoke riddles, left her bleeding on the floor for her father to find. That was his message. Even your brightest lights can be broken. Barbara Gordon, the warrior of the shadows, was now confined to a wheelchair. The Batgirl was gone. Dot, or so the Joker believed. Months passed. Recovery was agonizing, not just physically, but emotionally. Barbara wrestled with despair, with the crushing weight of helplessness. Every night she replayed the attack, her fists clenched, her body refusing to answer her rage. But inside the silence, a spark remained. She began to rebuild this time, not in the streets, but in the code. Her mind, sharp as ever, turned toward data, surveillance, encryption. From her apartment, she hacked into Gotham's most secure networks, built databases of every criminal and ally, and designed an intelligence system that outperformed even Batman's. And so Oracle was born. What started as a coping mechanism became a revolution in Barbara became the eyes and ears of the entire Bat family. Nightwing, Robin, Black Canary, they all relied on her guidance. She coordinated missions, predicted moves before they happened, and rerouted teams in real time. Crime began to fall not because of brute force, but because Oracle saw everything. But Barbara wasn't done yet. She began training. Rehabilitation was Hellbent with grit and genius. She adapted. Tech-assisted braces, experimental neural feedback systems, weaponized wheelchairs. She turned limitation into innovation. And above all, she kept the Batgirl suit. She refused to let it be a relic. And then came Cassandra Cain, a silent girl, trained from birth to be an assassin. Cassandra had the skills, but not the path. Barbara saw a chance not to replace herself, but to pass on the mantle. She trained Cassandra, guided her, helped her become Batgirl. Yet Barbara never truly stepped away from the shadows. When necessary, she fought, sometimes in the chair, sometimes standing. Always fierce, always calculated. But the Joker wasn't done either. Rumors began to circulate of a new plan, of a twisted obsession returning. He had heard whispers of the Oracle. He didn't know her identity, but he felt her watching. And in his deranged mind, that meant one thing. Barbara Gordon had survived, and to him, that was unacceptable. And so, he plotted his return, not with a gun, this time with a game. The Joker's return was not marked by chaos in the streets or corpses in alleys. It was quieter, this time more personal. A whisper in the network, a digital ghost haunting encrypted lines. He had learned Oracle was more than a name now. She was the net beneath Gotham's crumbling ledges, and he wanted to cut it. Barbara knew he wasn't coming for Batman, he was coming for her. For years, she had reshaped Gotham's defense from behind screens, drones, algorithms. Her strength was knowledge, her power was coordination. But the Joker, he thrived in disorder. He began to strike blind spots. Villains no longer acted alone, they moved like pawns in a greater game. False tips, ambushes, corrupted intel. Oracle's perfect map of Gotham began to crack. But Barbara had faced his chaos before. She didn't break then, she wouldn't now. Instead of hiding, she counterattacked. She constructed an AI, an adaptive watchdog, that mirrored her thought patterns. It learned her strategies, predicted like she did. It wasn't meant to replace her, but to stand with her. For the first time, Oracle became more than a code name, it became a system. But to truly end the Joker's shadow, Barbara knew what had to be done. She had to return to the streets. Her rehabilitation had advanced further than anyone expected. Experimental neural interface tech from Wayne Tech allowed her to temporarily bypass the damage in her spine. It was unstable, risky, painful, but she could stand, she could move, she could fight, donning a new suit, sleeker, armored, integrated. With advanced tech, Barbara Gordon became Batgirl again. Not a replacement, not a legacy, but a force reborn. When the final confrontation came, it was beneath Gotham, in the ruins of an abandoned subway. The Joker had rigged the entire line to explode, wired to the pulse of a stolen Oracle node. Her own system turned against her. He wanted to destroy the symbol, the tech, and the woman behind it in one final spectacle. But Barbara didn't come alone. Batwoman, Nightwing, Robin, Cassandra, Kane, Stephanie Brown, Black Canary, Huntress, the women she had mentored, the allies she had empowered, the family she had built. They dismantled the traps, cracked the code, beat down his laughing army of maniacs. And when she finally faced the Joker, it wasn't rage she carried, it was resolve. He mocked her, of course, spoke of the past, of cameras, of bullets, of screams. But Barbara didn't flinch. She disabled his detonator with a voice command, disarmed him with a flicker of her staff. And when he lunged at her, still thinking of her as the girl he shot, she stood and struck, not out of vengeance, but because she could. He was arrested, again laughing again. But something, his smile, faltered this time, because he hadn't broken her. He had forged her in the years that followed. Barbara operated in duality, Oracle by day, Batgirl by night. Sometimes she walked, sometimes she rolled, sometimes she let others wear the cowl. But her impact was undeniable. She led the birds of prey. She trained new generations of heroes. She rebuilt Gotham's cyber infrastructure. She turned tragedy into transformation. And more than anything, she taught Gotham a truth it had forgotten. You don't need to be unbroken to be powerful. You just need to rise. Barbara Batgirl, survivor, mentor, warrior, isn't defined by one name, one costume, or one injury. She is a legacy, rewritten by her own hands. And her story is far from over.